Hi, this is Denise Mathew, and today I'm going to do a gold dip gemstone crystal kind of thing. I've done a few here already, and I have two different methods that I'm going to show you today. One is if you have a drilled bead, and the other one is if you don't. This one is actually one that I purchased, so just for comparison. I mean, they do look a little bit different, but I think that the effect that the do-it-yourself one is actually not too bad. So I have these agate beads, and they sort of look like a tooth. So I'm just going to do a just a quick regular wrap, and when I do my wrap, I'm going to make sure that my loop is positioned in a way that the bead is going to hang the way I want it to. So we're just going to do a regular a wrapped bead, and I will have the link for if you need more help with that. And then just instead of going, I'm just going to go this way because I'm going to have, you're going to have your bead hang like this, and so you would like your chain to go that way through. Okay, so this one I'm going to do 2 loops. I'm just going to go around once, and then I'm just going to go around twice. And when you're making your circle, you want to make sure that your chain is going to fit through. Okay, just make sure ahead of time how big you want it, and then you'll adjust accordingly. Grab your 2 loops, and if you'll notice, there's 2 loops there. I just like the look of it better. It's not necessary. You can do 1, and that will work just fine. Then you're going to capture that second wire, and then you're just going to start wrapping right down. And you can just wrap back up if you want to. Just basically you're securing your wire. And some people like it a little messy. I'm okay with that. It looks okay. So when I've wrapped what I want it, that's about a 20 gauge wire, and all that really matters is the wire that will fit through your bead. So then I'm just going to trim that back and make sure there's no stray wires. Now, after that's done, I'm going to just adjust that to make sure that it's okay, centered, and so that's what I have so far. And now I have this sealer. Now the person that had it on their website, they used an adhesive and then they used a sealer, but I found that when I've worked with this, I find the sealer is just as good as an adhesive, but if you prefer, you can go ahead and buy an adhesive as well as a sealer. So now I'm going to take a little bit of sealer, all right, I'm just going to put it around where I want it for my gold my gold leaf, because that's everywhere the sealer is where your gold leaf's gonna stick. So you're gonna want to make this like look a little bit messy, because the whole idea is to have it sort of a dipped look. Okay, so now the sealer is tacky, and this is where I can start to put my gold leaf on. And I will give you, I'm keeping it in a Ziploc bag because it's very messy and it goes everywhere, so I will give you the name of this so you have an idea. So I know that they tell you to do it with a paintbrush, but I find that it just works better just to put it on with my fingers. And so you're just going to lay it on gently, just where your sealer is, and you notice it will stick. No problem there. And just add a little bit more. This is pretty decent because it's got sort of the big flakes. This is all flakes rather than the sheets, and I didn't buy the sheets because it's smaller projects, so I find that the flakes work really well. And don't worry if you go over your wraps, because you know the whole thing is that you don't want it to show that they're 2 different things. Now this is the first time you're going to put the gold on. What's going to happen is you're going to have to add some sealer to this, or just to you know, because you're going to definitely probably have some spots which need more gold flecks and stuff. So just move that aside, okay, and then just lay one right on top. And of course it's endy right now. There's little flakes of everything around, and it is a bit of a messy project, so you want to keep that in mind. Okay, so now that that's like that, you just want to press it down a little bit, and then you can do a brush, and then you just kind of go with the brush. But again, I find that I like to work with my fingers, but this is what you would do with the brush, and you're just gently pressing it in. And you'll notice there are a few patches which there is nothing on, and then so again you would go over a second pass. So that's what we have so far. So let that rest for a minute, just to let the adhesive sort of, or the sealer dry up a little bit. Alright, so now we're just going to gently put a little bit more sealer on here, same way as we did before. And we're just, and that will dry clear, so don't worry if you see the white. And you're just sort of sealing that in, getting all those little flakes that are sticking up down. Okay, so you wait till it gets tacky again. So now that this is tacky, I'm just going to add a few more pieces of gold to it. And I'm just picking up whatever's sort of around. I'm just going to keep adding a few more. This is really whatever you want to do with it, you can. I mean, that's the whole point of it. It's very versatile in that you don't have to have any specific way. Okay, so then once that's done, you're just going to let it rest for a few minutes. I'm just going to add a little more sealer, and that's basically your final sealer. If I'm going to say that I'm happy with the way it looks, I have enough gold, and then that would be your final seal, and that will just like dry like that. I have an amethyst here today, and I also have a 10mm jump ring, and I usually would use gold, but I just had the silver, so I'm just going to use that. And now I have this glue called E6000. Now this is a glue that I found on the website, and I'll give you the link for the person that has this. I've sort of adapted from her technique. And so what she said is to use this E6000. So I'm just putting a good dollop on there. And the truth is with this, if there's a better glue that you can think of that you work with, I'd love to hear from you. So this one just has to set up for about 2 minutes. So this is set up for about 2 minutes, and that's just to get it sort of tacky. And then I'm just going to stick that jump ring right inside. And now you really have to let it set for some time, otherwise the jump ring will it will move all over the place like it is right now with it. Okay, so once that's set up like that, you have your circle, and that's your jump ring is where your chain is going to be. So just make sure that you position your jump ring in a way that it's going to show the best of your bead. So if it's this way, that's the way the bead will hang. Now if I turned it the other way, I would show a different angle. So that's something that you just have to keep in mind when you're doing your, it's not actually a bead, when you're doing your crystal, just make sure. So we'll let that dry for some time. I'm just going to start laying some gold on that. And the difference between the person that had the sort of blog entry about how to do the gold is that she said to put the glue on afterwards with the jump ring, but I prefer to do it in the beginning, and that way you just put your gold right over it. Okay, so then just keep adding to it. And again, it's very messy in the beginning, but that's all right because you just add your sealer and it will just change everything up. So you might want to wash your hands in between, just in case you get any sealer on your hands and so forth. So there we are, just put another piece right there and just let that rest. And pretty much covered all the pieces. Again, if you prefer to work with a brush, do so, whatever works for you. But I like to use my fingers generally for most things, that's just my thing. Alright, so just let that rest for a minute. So here are the completed crystals, and again, you can put as many coats of sealant on as you like to make it a little bit more shiny. Some people like to use the spray sealant. I like the brush on just because it's less fumes. If you notice, it's really dressed up that whole thing. It's still drying, but it does really make a huge difference. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And thanks so much for all your input. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming. Bye for now.